Hi, welcome to another episode of Faith 234. This week we're going to be talking about some of the impressions we have from Doctrine and Covenants sections 6 through 9. And they focus mostly on Revelation. And in section 6, it talks about receiving personal revelation, and that the Lord sort of pointed out to Oliver Cowdery that he could think back on when he really received the confirmation that Joe Smith was a prophet or whatever, that was a witness to him, and that he really didn't need any more. And so sometimes when in verse 23 says, did I not speak peace to your mind concerning the matter? Have I not already told you? So sometimes thinking back on revelation or experiences can help, but also sometimes those experiences add up over time to an answer that we get later on in life. For example, when I first met Lisa, I just had this strong feeling, not that I was going to marry her, but just a strong impression. And, we talked about this before, and then we, dated through our friends in high school, dated after our mission. But when it came time to think about if she was the one I should marry, that prompting or that feeling I had way back in the end of my 8th grade year, I think so. Anyway, entered into it. So that was part of or maybe a revelatory piece of the puzzle to the whole thing. So, and it was an important part. So sometimes, these promptings, revelations kind of all build up and come together before we really know where they're heading or what they're going to do for us.
Yeah, it was interesting when we were living in Illinois, and one day at the grocery store saw a friend of mine. I knew she worked at a temp job service, and I thought maybe I need to get a job. Maybe that would help out, and I was thinking about it. So I went over to her and I said, I'm just thinking about this. If you have anything that you think would fit, if you give me a call and let me know. Well, she ended up recommending me to work at the bank, where I started working in finance and insurance, got my insurance license, which led to kind of a small career for me. So if I hadn't maybe followed the prompting then, maybe things would have turned out differently. And, it wasn't my dream job, but it really, I think, helped us out for a long time there, and ended up working out. So I think just sometimes you think small, just little impressions or ideas that pop into your head, maybe we follow those, and then the Lord can lead us down the path that will benefit us.
And your experience in insurance not only provided, additional income to us, but I think it helped a lot of other people. You were able to answer questions or help people navigate the chaos that the insurance world is. So another one I had is when I was young, Mom was driving me to maybe a Little League game or something, which didn't really happen often. So I don't know I can't remember the circumstances, but I remember stopping at a little convenience store. I think it was Gerber's anyway, not
Skanky.
Not Skanky's, but Gerber's, we were headed that way. But anyway, and she said, oh, maybe you ought to get a bit of honey, which is just a candy, kind of a honey flavored taffy, really. And she said, because she heard that honey was a good source of energy that I could, would help me my game or whatever. And at that moment, I just thought, oh, things you eat can help or change the way you feel or act or do or whatever. And I never, I didn't go home and research it after that. But then when I called Mom at the end of my mission to arrange coming home, because I was going to get home on Friday, start classes on Monday, just need to work out some details, because we usually didn't get a call home except on Mother's Day and Christmas. But I was calling her for that, got permission to. But she mentioned that I think it was the bishop in the ward. Remember, the bishopric had moved in and was a nutrition professor. And I just started getting this flash that, nutrition, that is interesting to me. And it kind of maybe gone back to when Mom recommended the bit of honey, but that kind of gave me a direction to go when I got home. I looked at the requirements for nutrition and saw all the chemistry, and that scared me away. So I was fearful of maybe that impression that I had and moved away from it, and then looked at, physical therapy and eventually exercise physiology. But to get the PhD in exercise physiology, I pretty much had to take all the nutrition I would have anyway, or all the chemistry, I would have to get the nutrition degree. So if I'd have listened in the first place, maybe things would have changed. But it worked out regardless. But it was that spark when I was a little kid, and then again at the end of my mission that kind of prepared the way or led me the way to my profession that I really loved and really enjoyed. So just recognizing those things and be willing to act on them, and then maybe recall them later on and say, oh yeah, that's part of the question I have, or that's part of the answer of what I'm looking for along the way. So I think it's important to do that and to reflect and ponder on things in the past as well. So
that kind of goes along with there's a story that someone tells about Sister Kimball just telling people, don't ever suppress a good thought or a good intention or being generous. If that thought comes into your mind, it doesn't matter if it's you or the Spirit. If you're living by the Spirit and you have a kind or generous thought, follow it.
Yep, I like that. And later in the section 6, it talks about in verse 35 that God doesn't condemn us for our flaws. And I think he was pointing out to Oliver Cowdery that, yeah, Joseph Smith had flaws, but so do you, and maybe the two of you working together. But that if there are mistakes made in this revelatory process, the Lord's not going to condemn us if we don't act or act in a perfect way, as long as we continue to do what's right. And I just think about the revelation received on blacks in the priesthood that, in hindsight, what we know now, that there may have been a reason for the ban, but it may have just been a flaw, that there were leaders throughout the years that just didn't get it right. And then President Kimball saw that flaw and reversed it. But the Lord doesn't chastise or hold those people accountable, those prophets accountable, or prevent them from revelation in other areas. And I just think that's a good example of how, when we look at leadership of the church, we need to give them some slack and not expect perfection, but actually follow the counsel that they give us, particularly if it's core to the principles of the church. And I just remember when that announcement came out, I never really thought much about why the blacks didn't receive the priesthood. I've been told different things, and there was a bunch of rumors out there, but now looking back, you can see that, okay, maybe that, for whatever reason, wasn't the right way to go, or it was, and then things changed. But anyway, just accepting that flaws happen. Even recently, when the first presidency announced that children of same-sex marriages can be baptized, and then they changed that. So again, probably a flaw that they recognized and then moved on from, but no big deal. That happens. So
yeah, I agree that we need to give our leaders some grace, and each other, ourselves, and just when we receive those revelations, try to have the confidence to move forward.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard, but just do. Then in sections 8 and 9, which go together, talk about Oliver Cowdery and his inability to translate. And one thing that I heard that was interesting is, just on a side, that the word translate has lots of different meanings. So even really when we read the scriptures and find a meaning that pertains to us, we've literally translated that scripture in a way that has a meaning to us. So that's translation, because really when Joseph Smith looked at the Bible, he was translating it from English into a different form of English, or just also into English. So it wasn't from one language to another, but he was translating it into what was written, into what should have been written or could be written or whatever. So
or what was more understandable.
More is understandable. Yeah. So translation can take on different forms. And I think realizing that the revelations we received or promptings we receive in a way is a form of translation for us as we personalize a message from the brethren or the scriptures or whatever. So, but anyway, back to Oliver. He struggled with it, and the Lord gave him some counsel. And the one thing that comes out throughout is importance of both the heart and the mind when it comes to receiving revelation, that we need to feel it in our heart, but also do some background, do some thinking, do some pondering with our mind, and that's required. And that mind part can include studying, asking, of course, praying, things like that. So it's not just, praying and then hoping God, here's the answer. He's maybe not going to do that. He's going to make us work and ponder and think about it a little bit, and then maybe give us the answer. Or sometimes we just have to have confidence that we've done everything that was necessary, and we just need to act. And then he'll let us know along the way. So
yeah, and I think that happens a lot. You study it out, you know what your end goal is. Things don't seem to be coming together, but if you've done your part and you've prayed and asked the Lord to help you, and then you just keep moving forward, until you get, the impulse to stop or move a different direction or keep going.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to take that step into the dark before we receive the confirmation.
Yeah, I just heard the example of a student taking an exam, and they raise their hand and ask the professor if they got one of the questions right. And the professor just looks at it and said, well, are you ready to turn the exam in? It's meaning, are you really ready to commit? Are you confident in what you've done? The person thinks, well, I did all the homework. I studied hard. I feel like it's right, but I just want that confirmation. And the professor says, well, you're not going to get the confirmation until you actually turn it in. And then I'll tell you. And so sometimes revelation, I think, is very similar to that. It's not always, fortunately. Sometimes we get a pretty clear answer ahead of time, but sometimes it's just God testing our faith to see if we're willing to move forward. So, okay, there's more in there, but we thought it'd be fun too if we had some time, which we have a little bit, to just maybe talk about some things that have happened this week, just sort of as a video journal. So one interesting thing is Lisa got to be a PE teacher for a whole day.
Yeah, the PE teacher had to leave, and there was not anyone else to take her place, so they asked if I would come in and teach PE, and it was actually kind of fun. So.
Yeah, and her husband is a stupid PE major, so she knew how to do it. But again, I think that just shows the value of her being there and helping out in the schools, which are part of the reason is because all the sickness and people leaving and just short staff. So it's a good thing that people like Lisa and others are willing to be teachers' aides that are flexible enough to even teach PE. So
yeah, there was another one had to fill in doing some computer science and math. So I was glad they gave me PE.
Much easier. Yeah. Believe me, you don't need a brain to teach PE. I majored in that. So let's see what else happened this week.
Well, we learned about Aaron and Stefan's move to London, and are hoping that everything goes smoothly and that we get to help out a little bit.
Well, you've already kind of helped out with.
Oh, I went down and helped him clean the car. They helped detail Aaron's car so that we can get it sold.
But also going to that shower and talking to Angie.
And yes, went to a baby shower yesterday for one of Kim's girls, but mentioned it to Angie. And one of her high school friends happens to live in London, worked for the BBC, and has sent her information. So Aaron and Stefan can have another contact when they get there. So
and they have a boy, maybe a little bit older than Peter, but pretty close to the same age.
Yeah, so that was really exciting to hear. And I almost didn't go to the shower, thinking I could do more good here helping Aaron. And Aaron said, no, you should go. And so maybe that's going to end up being
who knows how that'll turn out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, so just, it's been kind of more spring-like, and we're 1st of February, and it's been more like the end of March here.
It's way too warm.
Yeah.
And we found out Molly and Austin and Lisa are going to come out the end of the week to kind of say goodbye to Aaron and Stefan and Peter for a little while. So we're excited for that.
Yeah. So, I spent some time with Chad. He just had surgery, so I went down and took him out to dinner and spent some time with him. And it's still good to hear from him. Even though he doesn't go to church, as we talk, you can still tell he has faith in Jesus Christ, which is always good to hear.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, well, I guess that's it for today. So,
Keep the faith.
and keep the commandments.